Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Amid the presidential trip of President Bola Tinubu to China, so much is happening in Nigeria at the moment, especially on the political terrain, where government policies are constantly under contention by majority of the citizens who complain of hardships. Currently, the battle drums are beating in Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party. As the party begins its process of reconciliation among its members, the political crisis in the party continues to deepen, with a recent threat by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, that he will disrupt the political activities of any state governor that interferes in River State politics.
I hear there are some governors who say they will take away the structure and give back to somebody. I pity those governors because I'll put fire in their state. God has given you peace. You say no one peace. Then whatever you see, you take it. I don't understand. Simply because I hear they got some money for these signature voters. And so their heads are getting big. That you put hand in my own state. Prepare. Because I have the capacity. If we're talking about politics in Nigeria, we are more relevant than them. If today I say I will move to another party, it will be a tsunami. The team you just elected today, if we are sworn in, the first thing I have within my mind I say we will do is reconciliation. We won't bring every person back. The reason being that I need peace in River State. And I know that a day like this will come when I will be asked to say, you should be a peacemaker. And I'm assuring all of you that peace will come to this party.
However, Nigerians are wondering if the PDP is still united. And if so, can the party discipline any members irrespective of their status? Or is the party no longer interested in central governance ahead of the 2027 general election in Nigeria? Joining us now on this show is Chief Dan Ulasi, former chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP Anambra State, and former technical advisor to the PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 presidential election in Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Well, yesterday we had Umar Sani on this program to talk about current developments in People's Democratic Party. And people are posing the question, is the PDP really at peace or is completely divided? Because in recent times, there have been battles between Nyesom Wike, who says he will deal with any governor or anybody who shows any form of support for Governor Fubara of Bayelsa State. He has also said that he's the leader of the party in River State. That is the leader of the party in River State, and he owns the party structure. Anybody that wants to take it from him will have to confront him, and that, in fact, he will go to any extent to cause problem within the party. So what has happened to the reconciliation efforts, particularly the Board of Trustees, led by Senator Adolphus Wabara, with all kinds of persons complaining about the status of the party? Can the PDP put his house in order at any time soon?
Good morning, and thanks again for having me. Like I normally tell friends, if a party loses 2 consecutive presidential elections, they're bound to suffer serious political malaria. That's what PDP is passing through, and it's not uncommon. You know, we're in government for almost 16 years, and suddenly we lost power. And it's been terrible, I must tell you. But we're lucky that we have a brilliant group of, new National Working Committee headed by Damagu, the National Secretary, the National Organizing Secretary, and other members of the NWC. They are the people resiliently working to serve this party. Whether we have serious headache, but we're trying to make it. And recently they conducted congresses across the country, and it went so peaceful. Up to now, we haven't received any complaints. I'm in the National Reconciliation Committee that was just inaugurated about 2 weeks ago. We haven't received any complaint yet. But we have crisis in Rivers. I mean, that one is clear. It's the open front now. Everybody knows. But sincerely speaking, nobody knows what the crisis is all about. Because neither the governor nor Nyesom Wike has been able to tell Nigerians what is the causative agent of the problem. 2 months to the last presidential election, Wike invited me to Port Harcourt, and I was there for 2 nights. The first night I was very busy doing other things, seeing party members, but the third night, that was when Adolphus Wabora, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, came with his team. In fact, I was in Wike's office watching them, in their meeting. When they finished, he came back, and we started our own. In the course of our discussion, I knew he had serious misgivings following the party primary that brought Atiku in, and I came to ask him to help and forget the past so that we can at least emerge as a party. Thereafter, we can start sorting out our internal problems. We were discussing when a young man walked in, and he said, Chief Dan, that's how he calls me. This young man you're looking at is going to be the next governor of Rivers State. His name is Nyesom Fubara. I said, only if God wills. And the two of them said, yes, it is your intention, but God has to will that he will be governor. So I turned to the young man, I said, I don't know, I'm just seeing you for the first time. Don't be like other governors. You're going to sit every month between 15 to 20 billion naira. It might enter your head that you give a man money or power or both. It doesn't change the person, but it reveals whom the person is. I hope you don't reveal yourself negatively. Appreciate what this young man is doing for you now. He could have given this governorship to anybody because he had complete control of the state, as it were. And he was a governor that excellently performed in Rivers State. Nobody will give a doubt to that in this country. That the Emir, Sultan, everybody was going to Rivers to commission one major project or the other. And you can see what he's also doing at the federal capital territory. He's a performing person. He's a human being, might have his own shortcomings, but that's not what we're talking about. So what caused this problem is what I can't explain. I've not reached the governor. I've reached people close to him. I've not reached the minister himself. I have reached people close to him, but he told me he was going to travel. So I hope to meet with him when he comes back from his travel, so I can explicitly, make a comment on that. That's the much I can say for now.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Now, according to the party's constitution, just for sake of clarity, who should be the leader of the party in the state? I say this because you mentioned that the congresses were peaceful, but we saw that was from the Congress in Rivers State. The governor wasn't there. And what we understand and clarify that is that the governor is the leader of the party in that state. And this was what Minister Wike was addressing when he said anyone who would want to take instructions from him in the state would bear the consequence in their own state, not a veiled threat, an obvious threat in this instance. What do you have to say about that? How is the PDP? Because now we hear that the PDP has summoned him to face the disciplinary committee, even though he has traveled with the president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to China. But what do you say about that? Is that normal in the party?
Well, the PDP has not summoned him to face any disciplinary.
So the news out there is false.
Just a minute. I told you 2 weeks ago, 2 committees were formed, the disciplinary committee and the reconciliation committee. Yes. I'll be surprised if the disciplinary committee invited him, because the reconciliation committee has to do a fundamental work, and if we find anybody wanting, we have to refer it back to the National Working Committee, who will then send such persons to the disciplinary committee to discuss their problem.
Well, according to the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Ibrahim Abdullahi, he said that they had summoned the minister to face the disciplinary committee. Well, so except you're saying that that's not true.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, last week I was in Abuja, and I saw the national chairman, the national secretary, and the national organizing secretary. I saw Mr. Atiku with a view to seeing how we can, make the reconciliation in the party a lot easier than it is presently. So there are developments overnight. I cannot comment on developments overnight, but I'm saying, procedurally speaking, nobody will go to the disciplinary committee without passing through a reconciliation process. If only the reconciliation process fails, we have to report back to the National Working Committee, who will then send such persons to the disciplinary committee for action. Okay. That is supposed to be the process.
So my
in
first
party
question
management.
around, I mean, according to him, NWC has sent him a letter. But back to the first question, is that normal? Who is the leader of the party in River State? Then the Congress, would you consider that Congress peaceful? And why was the governor not there, the River State governor?
Well, you know, once there's a crisis, there's a crisis. That's what we're talking about. There's crisis in River State. And this crisis developed from the primary, like I said. And I had already explained how I made this governor a very short period of time.
Yeah.
What the problem is, if I say that would be getting involved in speculative literature, and I don't want to get involved with that. But the governor of a state is supposed to be the leader of the party in the state. That's what's supposed to be, because Wike was when he was there.
So that was an aberration. That wasn't right.
Well, only the National Working Committee can say that, because leader of the party is not part of our constitution. The governor assumed the role because they make all the functionality of the party. They fund the party. They do a lot of things. So we call the person the leader of the party, just like Tinubu was the leader of APC. I mean, he doesn't override the president, but it's a nominal something to show control, to show involvement. So the governor is supposed to be, but there is crisis. And now the crisis has gone beyond the call of duty. Why? I had expected the 13 governors of the PDP earlier than now to have sat down with Wike. What is your problem? They have done one good thing. They have absorbed Governor of Rivers into their fold, but they are being divisive, because it is that singular action which they failed to do. They would have been as intelligent people, which I know they are. First, sit down with the Minister of Federal Capital Territory. What is the problem? Before their own colleague. Because somebody, let me tell you, somebody to make you governor in this country is not, you don't pick it on the street.
Was there an election in River State? Because you keep saying
there was an election in River State.
So the River State people didn't make Fubara this?
Well, you know, look, let me tell you something. Did Buhari make Tinubu president of Nigeria? He made himself everything he wanted. Most Nigerians didn't vote for him, but he's president of Nigeria. I'm using it as a loose language, making yourself. Because you have to make yourself something in this country. Nobody helps you.
So Wike is God, Abi? That can make somebody governor in the
What I'm saying that you make somebody governor if you have the apparatus of power.
apparatus with state funds, Abi?
I don't know how. Just a second.
What fund? What was his asset declaration before he became governor?
Just a second. When I say you make somebody something, if you're the leader of the party and governor at the same time, you have the executive, you set the apparatus for the primaries.
Yeah. So incumbents can't lose. But incumbents, Jonathan couldn't make himself win his second term in this country now. Jonathan couldn't make himself win his second term.
Well, because I don't want to get involved with how Jonathan lost.
No, so he couldn't make himself. So you can't actually make yourself.
He tried to make himself win, but the forces against him were so much.
So there were no forces against Wike.
He wasn't.
Anyway,
let me understand your question.
So
forces against Wike, how? How do you mean?
So there are some things that you said that I feel that it's not in the interest of democracy, very undemocratic.
Just tell me what.
Number one, you saying somebody making the other person. It's the people that still vote in elections. Let's not make election be like a joke in this country. Secondly, you kept on saying, he did so well, people cannot. No, a lot of people have faulted what he did. Go and check the unemployment numbers, over 40%. While Wike was there in Rivers State, people were suffering unemployment. So infrastructure is not solving the economic malaise of unemployment. There are many things that are different. But the question I'd like to ask you, so you will call this Congress that happened in Rivers a success?
I don't know where you're coming from. Because...
So you will call this Congress the governor was not there a success?
You're making a commentary of your personal opinion. You're not questioning me.
No, I said so you will call this commentary, this Congress a success?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I had established that there's problem in Rivers State.
I'm just asking, would you call this a success,
Congress a success? Why, if the National Working Committee recognizes him as leader of PDP, for whatever reason, I'm not National Working Committee, we call it a success.
So this is a success, right?
Excuse
without
me.
the party chairman being there, without the governor being there.
Excuse me. There are no specific processes that a governor must be there.
At a Congress in his state?
Yes. That is why there is... Party. Excuse me, I don't think you're understanding where I'm coming from. I said I had established that there's problem in Rivers State. And this problem in Rivers State is so fundamental that it has torn the party apart. You're now going to look at where is the National Working Committee? Who is it? Are they supporting?
Who are they supporting?
This National Working Committee have been able to reach the governor. And last week I was in Abuja and I discussed with the highest level of party. And they said the governor had not given them access to discuss with him. Had not given them access to discuss with him. The governor is preparing for an election to use another party to run for that election. The party at the national level knows that.
Which election is that, please?
The local government election.
So which party is he trying to use to
I
run?
wouldn't you ask him, but I'm
No,
telling
no,
you.
you made an allegation. He said he's using or not. No.
I said
no.
he is
Hang
going
on,
to
sir.
use.
Oh, no, so what party is he going to use?
Why don't you? I make statements based on a procedure.
We also need facts. Back them up with facts. You can't just make a spurious allegation without backing them up.
I have not made one allegation here.
You said the governor is going to use another party
It is because,
to run a local government election. Give us the party.
Because he's not part of the system of PDP in Rivers State.
Anyway, you've not given us the party.
No. I want you to understand what I'm saying. If he had made himself accessible to the National Working Committee, they probably would have recognized him.
But the governors reached him. Fellow governors reached him.
But they are not the National Working Committee.
But they are and members.
No, but I want to clear
party.
to you that the governors are not the National Working Committee.
Okay.
The party, no, excuse me. You have to understand this. Nobody imposes authority on himself. We have an authority in PDP today, which is the National Working Committee. If the governor had unlimited access to them, they will recognize him.
Okay, I quickly want to move on to another thing. As at 4:25 a.m. this morning, in case you didn't get the memo, Wike has actually been summoned, but they also recognize the fact that he's currently with the president in China. You sit on this committee, this disciplinary committee.
No, I'm not on the disciplinary committee.
You're in the reconciliation committee.
Yes.
Okay. So, number one, what kind of conversations or what reconciliation do you think should be had with a man that went against his political party and destroyed his party's prospect in the last election?
That's a very serious matter, which concerns me personally.
And so what reconciliation should be had?
Well, I won't tell you what we will discuss, but that is part why the Reconciliation Committee was formed. We have to listen to him. He's a
Why
human
he
being.
destroyed his party?
Well, he hasn't destroyed PDP.
Really?
Yes. Excuse me, he hadn't, because by the time he was governor, PDP had gone from 26 governors to 13. He wasn't excuse me, because let us not make statements that what I call fallacy of generalization. He hasn't destroyed PDP.
But he destroyed the party's presidential prospect by going with 5 governors, having the G5 that worked against his party, and he delivered his state, like you said, they delivered.
He delivered PDP in Rivers State. The only thing that he did not support our presidential candidate.
No, so and he worked against the presidential candidate.
Excuse me, if we had serious reconciliation committee in PDP, that matter would have been reconciled before the election came up. But the then executive did not work hard to do that.
Can we make progress?
Please.
Because the conversation is getting rowdy. We are not... Now, I'd like to ask you, Wike has made the point that he will put fire in the states of the governors that support Fubara. Does he have such a capacity? You say you are not very sure of what is causing the problem in Rivers State, but there is problem in PDP at the national level. What will you say are those specific issues? Because there are some people saying they don't want Atiku Abubakar to say he wants to run again in 2027. There are some people saying they don't support Ambassador Damagum as acting national chairman. So you know some of these issues. What do you think is the way forward for the PDP?
Well, let me start again. If I recollect very well, looking at Wike sitting across the table like me, and Fubara was standing, the kind of beautiful adjectives he used on that young man shows not just love, but a lot of trust. That was why I said I don't know what the problem was in under 3 or 6 months of that government emerging. But be that as it may be, PDP, as presently constituted, cannot win a federal election. Labour Party, as presently constituted, cannot win a federal election. Neither will NNPP. So these 3 parties, if they mean well for Nigeria, have to join in a major coalition to be able to fight in 2027. That is about. All we are trying to do is to maintain the substance of PDP, not to die until these major alliances come up. And I'm part of the system trying to organize this. If we have to offer a serious alternative to this country, if we go into election again as PDP and Labour Party, Tinubu will just go to sleep and he will win. So that's apart for the future. But for the internal crisis in PDP, if I may call it crisis, because there's a problem, you know, when a party loses 2 consecutive presidential elections, and a lot of people have withdrawn, not even saying anything. Wike is one of the few. And like I told you, I was in Abuja last week, seeing both our presidential candidate and the party. Where are we going? How do we do this? What are the problems? How do we face these problems? And that was why they inaugurated a National Reconciliation Committee, which is going to be our fundamental, objective. And Rivers is going to be a principal factor in that objective to see what are the causative agents in this crisis. We discuss with both parties and see whether it is possible to reconcile them. Like you rightly said, PDP, after Wike, 2 months ago, we had a national caucus and a national executive meeting, and he was there. In both meetings, Atiku was there in both meetings, and they greeted. So, officially speaking, it will look as if there is crisis, but like political party processes, there are ways we get things sorted out. So we haven't given up. I accept we have problems, but we haven't given up. And serious efforts are being made by so many members of the party. There are people spreading malignant pessimism about PDP. I don't think it's that bad. It is serious, but it's not cancerous at the moment. It's something we can manage.
All right, so you're able to manage it. Now, within the PDP, aside from Minister Wike, last week or 2 weeks ago, we had Chief Bode George here for an interview. I don't know if you saw that interview.
Yes, I did.
Where he's a member of the disciplinary committee.
Yes.
And he was saying that they put someone who came into the party after him as the chairman of that committee. And that if that remained, he wouldn't even be a member of that committee. I'm saying this because these are the little issues that become or balloon up to become big problems. So that even within the disciplinary committee, they don't even agree on that committee. Have you reached out to Chief Bode George? Does he have a valid point?
If I take that premise as a basis of functioning for the party, then I won't be under any person. Because myself and Ekweme, we are there to sign the principal factors of forming the PDP. When Jonathan was president, they made me a member of the governing council of University of Calabar. And I said, I won't go. Anthony Anini, late, then chairman, said, don't worry. I said, I left the University of Nigeria in 1973. I was part of the people that formed this party. And somebody is made chairman of that council. I don't know what he said. I'm a biochemist by training. That I won't go. I just respected myself. I said, the council can go on, and I withdrew. So if we say because you are not the chairman of that, I was in the party before Governor Olagunsoye. But I held him, I congratulated him for his appointment. The idea is give the party the best you can. Give the advice the best you can. If you love your party and you love your country and you want this party and country to survive, you forget about who came first and who came second. Try and be part of the system. That is loyalty. That is humility. You don't need to be chairman to be able to contribute something to your party. That is my view. I have not spoken with Olabode George. He's a very senior friend of mine, very, very close friend of mine, but we've not spoken.
They even need to go to the reconciliation committee first of all, because there's some things that need to be
This
reconciled.
is what the party has not given any guidelines about the, in 2015, after the major, that primary that brought a lot of problems, they appointed a reconciliation committee, and I was the secretary of that committee. The question was, the discussions we had, out of 17 complaints we had from across Nigeria, 12 were from Rivers State. 12 were from Rivers State. And 2 of the people that they sacked from the party in Rivers State because of the primary, they signed Jonathan's presidential ticket. And if the INEC knew that, Jonathan would have been disqualified. He wouldn't have run for that election because somebody who was not part of the party signed his presidential form. That's probably what I did in that committee, so stop that process. And then we had to ask Rivers people to withdraw their sack of those people before we publish their names.
Okay, see, you just said something now that if you love the party so much,
Yes.
you will move on from the hurt, isn't it? Good. But Wike loves his party so much, but he betrayed his party in the presidential election. He didn't even allow Atiku Abubakar campaign successfully in Rivers State. His own party's presidential candidate. Why? Because things never went his way. Is that not the height of love in the first place? He loves his party so much. He loves his party so much also that he's put his party down, that today they've not been able to reach any resolution, since after the elections, because there are people that have betrothed to him one way or the other. He loves his party so much that his party's candidate in the governorship election that, like you said, he brought in, he's now fighting with Fubara. You telling us that you don't know the cause of their fight. Maybe let me break this to you. It's power. It's supremacy. Who is going to lead? That's the cause of their fight. Is that not the height of love Wike has shown for his party by bringing his party so down? For Wike so loved his party, he ensured that the party presidential candidate of the PDP never succeeded in his own state because he was angry at what was done to him in the party.
You know, when you have dozens of immaculate, dishonesty, they paint it, it looks as beautiful. The complexities you have in political processes is neither here nor there. Wike had misgivings. If you remember properly, the southern governors, both APC and PDP, met at Asaba and took a resolution that the two presidential candidates in the two major parties must confront the South. They had two other meetings after that, and that decision was confirmed by the two major political parties. APC did that, PDP did not do that. That was the beginning of the rift. And so somebody felt, if I had the opportunity, I would have been presidential candidate. I will be myself, I cannot be Wike. How you resolve a crisis is personal to you. For every process, for every unresolved, every process you see is about unresolved grievance. We had a party that didn't think it necessary immediately to form a reconciliation committee to sort of collapse completely. We haven't collapsed completely. That is the premise I'm making. It's not whether Wike, until I hear from both of them, I'll make a judgment. But the statement I have made was that Wike told me in his office, before this governor, reasons why he wants him to be governor. He's trustworthy, is this, is this. And I said here openly, I didn't know what the problem was. You said it might be power tussle. I don't know because I've not spoken with Wike. Last week, I went to Abuja and spoke with our presidential candidate towards the future. I'm interested in towards the future because sometimes when you do autopsies, continue doing autopsies, then you live in the past. Just a second. What I'm saying is we have to move beyond the concept of, the little crisis in the PDP. And you said I had no right to criticize Tinubu. Why won't I criticize him? He's the president of Nigeria. Maybe he never,
the Wike you support made this happen. That's what I'm saying.
He may not have made it entirely happen.
Oh, Rivers played a great role in the election. If the PDP that normally will weigh Rivers had won Rivers, are we...
Why don't you... Yeah. I had mentioned this. I established why he did what he did, to my own understanding. I said I have not met him until, since he became a minister, 2 months, last saw, 2 months to the election, and I've not seen him since then. So what I'm saying is that for whatever grievance you want to establish, you have reason for the grievance that you want to establish and how you want to carry it out. I'm not Wike, but he's not a political figure in this country. You can say, where is he coming from? Everybody knows where he's coming from, where he is. He's making a difference in FCT, but that is not the important thing. What I'm saying is that, nationally speaking, with what is happening in this country today, look at Dangote showing leadership, not just because he wants to make money, but the interest of Nigerians. My president is in China. What is he doing in China? When hundreds of people are dying in this country.
But it's also showing leadership.
Excuse me.
He's getting deals done.
Unless you don't want me to answer questions,
no,
then you can come over here and I'll come over there.
I have a right to ask questions.
Yeah, but I'm answering one that you just asked, please. A few years ago, Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, was just arriving in America when flood or something happened in Germany and they lost 5 people. She suspended that journey and went back to America. Went back to Germany. Hundreds of people are dying in my country. 150 people were kidnapped or so in Sokoto. All over this country, people are being killed, kidnapped, and my president has gone to China. What is he doing in China? What's he doing in China that is relevant to the current situation we have in this country? People have given notice again that in October they will begin another strike. You would have expected the president of the Federal Republic to be going from state to state where there are food-producing areas. How do we protect farmers? If farmers don't produce food, hunger will increase. That's what I will expect the president of this country to be doing. We don't know whether there is crisis in PDP. They should be happy if there is crisis in PDP because that's an advantage to him. But part of the problem in this country is that people are hungry. It has never happened before in the history of this country. And my president is in China.
Okay, Chief. Let's move beyond, partisan politics.
Yes.
One of the issues on the table at this moment is about electoral reform. A joint committee on electoral matters just completed a 3-day retreat, and they have about 39 recommendations as to how the process can be improved upon. And people are saying, let's start from now. Let it not be 2-3 weeks to 2027 elections, and then government will say, well, there's no time to implement these reforms. What would you like to see in terms of reforms?
My worry is not about reforms or what is written down, but the implementation of whatever.
Okay.
The country has a problem of implementation. No matter how beautiful what you have put down is, people will have a way to evade it, to make things not work. This is the cancer we are suffering in this country. If anybody, that's why I don't blame Tinubu so much. I've not condemned him anywhere. And making emphasis that what if I was in his position, this is what I would be doing. But if any other, either P2B or Atiku had been president of this country, they will see exactly what Tinubu, because the 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari was a disaster this country never saw before. Even though the president said he will continue from wherever he stopped, he now knows that there was no place to continue from. He's now facing his own problem. He has to devise his own solutions because there was no governance then. So what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter how the reforms in the electoral processes are. Do we as Nigerians have the capacity, the honesty to implement what is written? People are talking of a new constitution, still written matter. How do we ordinary vote and transmit results electronically? Nigerians haven't done that. That is the easiest way to reform electoral process. If you vote in your ward, the result is seen in Abuja or somewhere. There's no way you can rig that one. That's the simplest way. Every other thing is theory. For parties to have internal democracy, that somebody who wins a primary's name comes up, even if there's some way you want to help a candidate, you have to plan it in advance how to help him. Not when he wins, then you remove his name and put somebody else's name. All the parties do this, and it's unfortunate. The national chairman of APC is in trouble in his home state. Crisis in his home state. For somebody who was seen on video carrying dollars or whatever, is the national chairman of a ruling party in this country. Parties midwife government. So how can that government have credibility when somebody like this is the national chairman of that party? So we have fundamental problems. I'm not one of those who believe in written matter. The ones who have written in the past, have we been able to follow up with them? We have not. Because every ministry you go in this country, there's one beautiful report or the other about how to improve this country. Somebody comes, if it's not in his interest, he lifts it. He lifts it. So we have to begin to change the attitude of he comes, he dumps what I have done, and then begins his own. And somebody else comes, I dump what he has done. That is where we are, and that nothing is not working. 774 local governments, Abati, water is not running. This is what I want to close this interview with. It's a tragedy that in this country, no matter what you say, from president to governors to local government chairman, 774 local governments, water is not running anywhere. 36 state capitals. It might be you have 10% of the state where water is running. Fundamental something for existence and survival of Nigerians, water. It's not. That's why most hospitals, no water. And you want people to survive in those hospitals. I would have expected my president to sit down with a strong committee. These people demonstrated. Why did they demonstrate? Is there anywhere we can bring solutions to those demonstrations? How do we get farmers to be able to go to their farms and farm? These are the things I expect, some practical solutions that he has to follow. And it has not been done. That's not criticism, it's an advice.
Well, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much, Chief Dan Ulasi, for joining us on the morning show.